So I'm not a big fan of the word Christian, as you probably know. Now, there are lots of reasons for that, and we won't talk about that right now. I've talked about that before, written about that. What I like to call people, or call myself, as follower of Jesus. I'm a follower of Jesus. And there's a few reasons for that, and I want to unpack a couple of those real quickly here. One is, hopefully, we're actually following Jesus. That's what we're doing. To say I am a Christian, it's kind of like a noun, place name. There's not much movement in I'm a Christian. Then you either are or you aren't, and it kind of makes the boundaries hard. So when somebody says to you, what are you? I'm a Christian. If they're not, then they make a whole bunch of presuppositions that may or may not be true. They walk away thinking they know what you are. If you say, I'm trying to follow Jesus, who are you? What do you do? What do you believe? What's your religion? You get asked that sometimes, as I do, I'm sure. What's your religion? Are you religious? Well, not really, but I am trying to follow Jesus. And then they kind of go, because that's a different answer. They say, oh, what does that mean? What do you mean you're trying to follow Jesus? What religion is that? So you're a Christian? And then it just opens up opens up a can of worms, kind of a negative way, because there's all kinds of stuff that goes with that. But it just makes it more fun, more interesting. It doesn't stop the conversation. It opens up the conversation. I'm trying to follow Jesus. Well, how are you doing with that? Well, actually, not necessarily that well. Depends on the day. You can ask my wife. Depends on the day. But what kind of follower? When I say follower of Jesus, what does that mean? I recently was with some friends in the Middle East, and they met some of my Muslim background friends who would call themselves followers of Jesus, but they were still remaining Muslim. So what is that? What does that mean? I mean, can you be a follower of Jesus and still believe in false gods? Can you be a follower of Jesus and still have bad doctrine? Can you be a follower of Jesus and not be a Christian? Big questions, aren't they? Let me say it this way. There were at least three kinds of people who followed Jesus in the Gospels. I call them the crowds, the curious, and the committed. It's handy they all have the letter C, huh? So the crowds followed Jesus, and they were just around him. And they were usually masses of people, usually several thousand, that were just going along behind him, looking for some fresh fish and bread, maybe wanting to be healed, maybe wanting just to be inspired. I mean, they were tired of the Roman rule. They're probably hoping for a rabbi, messiah, leader, military leader, zealot to free them from the Romans. Maybe they were even skeptics. They were the Pharisees and Sadducees and Herodians, looking to kind of get Jesus on some. And I think they were probably all those things. Jesus, interestingly, never rebuked the crowds. He does seem to get tired of them sometimes. He escapes several times from the crowds, but he doesn't rebuke them. So he allows the crowds to follow him. So there are lots of followers of Jesus, I think even today, who are the crowds. Is that where you want to end up? Well, of course not. Of course you don't want to stop there. But we don't want to get too focused on, but those crowds aren't believing the right things. Let's not get upset about people following Jesus, even from a distance. Let's allow them to do that and hope for more. Now, there's another step closer, I think. I call them the curious. People like Nicodemus or Zacchaeus, who were part of the crowds, who went out of their way, climbing a tree or coming to Jesus at night. We don't necessarily know what happened with these more curious ones. Do they move on to become disciples? Do they move on to be committed to Christ? We don't really know. But again, Jesus only welcomes them. He interacts with them. He heals them. The 10 lepers. Think about the 10 lepers. They were probably part of the curious, that middle ground. They worked up enough guts to come out of the crowds to approach Jesus. He heals the 10 of them. But 9 don't even come back and say thanks and give him any honor at all. Only 1 does that. But he doesn't rebuke the other 9, and he doesn't chase after them either. He just lets them be who they are. And what we're always looking for and hoping for in ourselves, first of all, and in our friends' lives, and in the lives of our cities and nations and churches, is that people would be committed to Christ, committed to following Jesus. So you move from the crowds to the more curious, to saying, yes, I want you, Jesus, to be everything to me. You're not just an interesting teacher, but be really careful about condemning or judging in any way the committed or curious. As we see Muslims in my world, Muslims or Jews or people from other religions, secular atheists, whatever, coming to Christ in some sort of way, be so careful to honor their journey, to be excited with them, that they're just part of the crowd, that they're anywhere near Jesus. Just being near him does so much. It changes your head and your heart, and it could even heal your body. It could do anything and everything for you. But if we're always condemning the crowds and the curious for not being the committed, then we actually inadvertently, I believe, drive them away from the Jesus we want them to be committed to. Hold that follower of Jesus idea loosely. Let people walk the journey with Christ as you have. Give them more grace than you even give yourself. And you'll be surprised what Jesus will do with you and with your friends.